Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're asking if the Alpha Legion could be the first traitor legion to unveil Primaris. Spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from the Warhammer 40k novel Renegades Harrowmaster by author Mike Brooks. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. With the monumental shake-up of the Gathering Storm campaign, it can be a bit of a genuine debate as to what was the bigger change for the galaxy. The fall of Cadia and the resultant Great Rift, the return of an actual Primarch in Rabute Guilliman, or the unveiling and introduction of the Primaris, a new and improved breed of Space Marine. The fact that all three of these events virtually happened at the same time is crazy to think about in hindsight. Regardless of which one may be the definitive event, they are each linked in this one moment of change for the galaxy. And one of my particular favourite things to read and see in the lore since then has been how the forces of chaos have reacted to the news of Guilliman's return and the arrival of the strange new Primaris, particularly the traitor legions. And we've been blessed a couple of times now to see how Alpha Legion legionaries have responded to encountering the Primaris. Now, the first one was back in a novel called Shroud of Night by author Andy Clark, and this is a read I've spoken about and raved about, highly recommended previously. There, an Alpha Legion warband named the Unsung encountered Primaris when they were infiltrating an Imperial world of Sudraka. In quite an amusing little scene, the warband notices all the differences as they spied on the Primaris from afar, slowly coming to the realization these are not normal Space Marines, that they were bigger, had a new mark of armour, and even a different bolter. The conclusion they come to that the Imperium must be desperate if they've attempted to toy with the Emperor's own work. And let's be honest here, they're not exactly wrong, are they? The Imperium was and is desperate. And it is quite surprising that even the traitor legionaries class toying with the Emperor's work as a blasphemy. And though the Unsung would ambush the Primaris, taking them out successfully, they were more than taken aback by the prowess of these new warriors. The line, "that," he said, "was harder than it should have been," pretty accurately summing it up. However, an even more interesting meeting between the Primaris and another Alpha Legion warband took place within the novel Renegades Harrowmaster. Now here, a warband by the name of the Serpent's Teeth are attacking an Imperial world, sowing confusion and overrunning the defenders with uprisings as only the Alpha Legion can, when one of the Militarum defenders mistakes the traitors for Silver Templar reinforcements. And this leads to a bit of a debate over the Alpha Legion Vox. They'd never even heard of a chapter named the Silver Templars. And if any traitor legion is going to have the best or most up-to-date information on the Imperium, well then it's going to be the Alpha Legion. Some of them figure the human meant to say Black Templars, whereas others suggest it's simply a new chapter. As good as the Alpha Legion are at infiltrating the Imperium, they don't know everything. Let's be honest here, most of the Imperium doesn't know all the chapters that they have. However, it's not long after that they receive the answers they wanted, as the Silver Templars arrive to reinforce the Imperial defenders. Now, this is a fairly brief encounter, with the Alpha Legion deciding to retreat given the Imperial reinforcements. However, they face off with the Silver Templars enough to not only notice the new war gear they possess, but to realise that this is a new breed of Astartes entirely. A far more dangerous foe. And as the Alpha Legion make flight from the system, attempting to flee the newly arrived Templar fleet, we get to see the kind of shock and surprise this has had firsthand. What manner of foes are these that put us to flight so easily? Vakai asked. They have little experience at void combat. I can tell you that. I do not know, Solomon replied, and that alarms me. We know the Imperium. We know their ways. Guilliman laid down their laughable Codex Astartes, and by and large they hold to it. A rigid tool, again, and one prone to breaking when exposed to the correct pressure. He shook his head. But what we saw down there was like nothing I have heard of. It's as though they've created a new breed of Space Marine, Crozier, with new armour, new weapons. What you're suggesting would be a greater innovation in one go than the Imperium's managed in 10,000 years, Vakai retorted. I am not saying it is impossible, but it sounds unlikely. Take a look at this, Solomon said. He unclamped a bolt weapon one of the Fifth Fang had managed to capture, and passed it to the captain of the Whisper. Vakai took it, and examined it for only a second or so before passing it back. Consider me convinced, Solomon. That is no model I've seen before, although I do not walk planetside as often as many of you. It's kind of interesting here, the Alpha Legion are as equally surprised by the weapons of the Templars, as much as they are the Marines themselves. But then I guess that is very much an Astartes mindset. The logical, the practical, the war-focused. At the end of the day, they are weapons themselves. Why wouldn't they think like that? The absolute best thing about that passage here, the Alpha Legionary Solomon, stating that he is alarmed because he doesn't know something. For the Alpha Legion over any other legion, save perhaps the Thousand Sons, knowledge is power. Knowing your enemy is more than half the battle. And that one simple instinctive response, I don't know, and that alarms me, is the perfect piece of symbolism for an entire legion, even one as diluted from its origins as the traitors have become. However, here is why the Alpha Legion are a breed apart from their fellow Legion kin, as rather than wanting to test themselves against these warriors in a show of blood, or to kill them to simply acquire this new armour, the Alpha Legion decide to capture one, to study, to understand just what this new foe is. Now, yes, you have other individuals out there that may have intended to perform the same, such as Fabius Bile, for example. But that's far more of a selfish mindset or interest. On a legion-wide basis or scale, it really is only the Alpha Legion that would have this kind of wide-scale thought process. And it's kind of interesting, although I'm not much of a 30k Alpha Legion fan, it definitely makes the 40k equivalent of the Traitor Legion one of the most interesting Traitor Legions out there for me. I really do find myself absolutely loving any 40k era story of the Alpha Legion I read. Now, the Alpha Legion do succeed in capturing Silver Templar Primaris. Dead, but hey, it is what it is. Allowing themselves to be boarded by a single pod, the Alpha Legion swiftly overwhelmed the intruders. The Silver Templars weren't likely to go down without a fight. And this is the really intriguing part. as rather than simply taking the armour and equipment for themselves, having an apothecary take a look and study the body, they instead return to a place known as the Unseen. Now, we'll talk in depth on the Unseen more another day. However, the Unseen is a self-built space station of sorts by the Alpha Legion within the Ultima Segmentum. Essentially a combination of various vessels from all kinds of factions fused together as a kind of small space Hulk. And this Unseen operates as an Alpha Legion headquarters, if you will, at least for the warbands of Ultima Segmentum, which, to be fair here, is a huge chunk of galaxy. Though the Alpha Legion is split into vying independent warbands, the Unseen is agreed neutral territory, where they can come for resupply, recruitment, diplomacy, whatever their needs may be, all within the boundary of the Imperium. There's no retreating to the Eye of Terror here. It's incredible to think about, and honestly probably the closest we've ever come to a substantial sighting of an Alpha Legion headquarters. But again, I want to discuss that some more and what it could mean another day. Here, Solomon and his Serpent's Teeth warband bring their Primaris conundrum to a Dark Mechanicus Magos, someone they refer to as the Biologis Diabolicus, where he eagerly performs an autopsy. And this is a major thing. Here, we have a Magos of the Dark Mechanicum actively examining Primaris Marines with subjects within his possession. For all of Belisarius Caul's genius, he is still a Magos of the Mechanicum himself. He didn't replace the Emperor's work, he merely improved upon it. So there is absolutely nothing to say another Magos or Tech Priest, with his particular speciality, couldn't do exactly the same. And that's exactly the speciality the Biologis Diabolicus has. Let's not forget here, the Space Marine template hasn't been improved before over the past 10,000 years, because quite simply it's heresy to the Mechanicum to try and improve anything. Belisarius is seen as a nigh-on heretic by his own order. That is something the Dark Mechanicum are all too willing to embrace. Now, Magos Yalamagasa, which is the Biologis Diabolicus's name, has spent centuries with the Alpha Legion upon the Unseen Station, bringing the new generations of Alpha Legion to life. Not corrupted, mutated sons akin to Fabius Bile, but genuine, true Alpha Legion legionaries. Magos Yalamagas's sanctum had once been a ship's primary medical bay and apothecarian, and it still contained ancient machinery which likely dated back to the Great Crusade. However, there were many other, newer devices installed, few of which had ever been seen, let alone approved, by either the Adeptus Mechanicus or any apothecary of the Space Marines. Solomon's armour registered a drop in temperature of several degrees as soon as he entered the chamber, the result of cold bleed from the Cairo store units scattered around, in which resided the various organs and implants the Biologicus Diabolicus would use to usher the next generation of Alpha Legionaries into the galaxy. Most of these creations were the work of the Diabolicus Secundus, Yalamagas's abominable intelligence engine. The Magos liked to keep his circuits focused on matters of biology, and so had delegated his knowledge of machines, which was lesser, although still substantial, to his spider-legged automaton, which spoke in a static-edged version of Yalamagas's own voice. Now, I don't know about you, But that sounds eerily similar to a Dark Mechanicum version of Belisarius himself. With such a Dark Mechanicum Magos in possession of untarnished Primaris subjects, with him situated in a stable Legion environment, possessing pure Legion gene seed, and having centuries of experience creating new legionaries for them, we could very well be looking at the being responsible for the first Traitor Legion Primaris. Alpha Legion Primaris. Magos Yalamagasa has the experience. He has the tools. He even has the Primaris. He simply needs to copy and replicate the technology and procedure. That doesn't sound impossible to me. So for all the talk of the Primaris being immune to chaos, of the questions of when one of them will eventually fall, the Traitor Legions could well bring their own Primaris to bear very soon. Except rather than a turned renegade as expected, it could well be a true, freshly created legionary. And it appears rather than a mutated creation of Fabius Bile, of the Emperor's children being the Legion to gain the advantage, it could just be the Alpha Legion who are going to surprise their kin and the Imperium once again. But as always everyone, what do you think? Does this Magos sound suspiciously similar to Belisarius Call? He even has his own AI copy of himself to assist his work. Is he in the perfect situation to go about creating Primaris for the Alpha Legion? To me, it certainly seems so. Again, that stable environment, a largely uncorrupted Legion and location, fresh and pure Primaris subjects to copy. It's hard to argue. And are you surprised the Traitor Legion who could be the first to truly benefit from this new technology could be the Alpha Legion? Would you have expected the Emperor's children or the Black Legion even to benefit first? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.